C Tim Shaw podcast.
An absolute tragedy unfolded on Australia Day in Perth over the Swan River. And I've got to say, it was just horrifying to watch the video footage and the mobile phone footage of an aircraft that is known as a Grumman Mallard flying boat. It crashed into the Swan River. It killed the pilot, Peter Lynch, his partner and passenger, Enda Kakrawati. Both of them died on impact. Now, the remainder of the wreckage of the seaplane that fatally crashed into the Swan River in Perth on Australia Day, it was retrieved and set off for examination. That took place late on Saturday afternoon. Remarkably, a new pilot, in fact, was with Mr. Lynch up at an air show at Evans Head in New South Wales just over 3 weeks ago. And this tragedy, I think, has affected many that love flying around Australia's skies, particularly civilian pilots. One of them is Alex McNaught, and he happened to meet Mr. Lynch and his partner just recently, stepped on board the ill-fated plane, and I'm pleased to say that to share his reflections, Alex McNaught is on the line. Alex, good morning. Welcome to 2CC Breakfast Canberra.
Good morning, Tim. Thank you very much.
How is it that you met Mr. Lynch and Enda? Where were you? And you actually went on board the aircraft.
Yes, that's right. Every year there's an event called the Great Eastern Fly-In at Evans Head. Evans Head is a location on the north coast of New South Wales and has been a historic base for RAAF training during World War II and is now a heritage listed location. And Peter was instrumental in putting forward an air park development which is successful in the US, and we have relatively few of these in Australia, and he's been pushing that through all the necessary bureaucratic barriers to get that very near to approval. And my recent gaining of a pilot certificate meant that a few things coincided. I've got a very specific interest in seaplanes. The Grumman Mallard, which Peter had, was probably the only one of its type in Australia, and I was very keen to see it. And being new to the scene, I was interested in becoming, circulating more and making contacts with people. So I volunteered for the event to help set it up and run it and pack it up afterwards, and feeling that being involved at that grassroots level would give me the necessary grounding and insights that I was after, as well as meeting friendly and fun people sharing the same interest.
Meeting Peter Lynch, going on board his aircraft, how passionate was he about the aircraft and sharing that passion that you have, which is for seaplanes?
Very much so. I have a great deal of interest in the plane, as I mentioned, and you could see immediately that the plane was extremely well looked after, inside and out. And I had a couple of very good chats with Peter and Erida in my time there. And when I asked him if I could come on board and take photos of the interior, this being my first opportunity to do so, that he very kindly said no problems, and it was making sure that there wasn't even a speck of dirt coming onto the plane, because it had been raining and there was some mud around and so on. So it was very, very fastidious, and you could see that in every kind of aspect of the plane, inside and out. And he also gave handling displays of the plane during the course of the 2-day event at Evans Head, and you could see that the plane was flown respectfully and properly, and CASA officials were there overseeing the event, and so everything was running like clockwork. So, it is with incredible shock and sadness that, I saw that the events unfold, and I know that has been shared by my conversation with other pilots subsequently, and with seeing posts and, sympathy and thoughts and prayers to Peter and Erida, and we just want to know the answers,
Yeah, of course. I can understand it. I guess the challenge too was your first reactions when you heard of the crash. Did you suspect it was them?
It was highly likely. I immediately went back to check the photos that I had taken to match it up against the plane. It wasn't clear that it was their plane, but it was very highly probable. And then subsequently, when the rego, was posted up, no question about it. So that's really when it really sank in, and there's been a lot of reaching out between pilots.
Yeah, Alex, I know from our discussions how rigorous your training has been, and we have many civilian pilots that just love the freedom of being able to explore Australia's skies. Does this accident make you feel any different about flying?
Yes and no. There's no question that flying involves risk, as does driving your car down the street, as does even stepping out of the bathtub. So it's a matter of how you address that risk. Now, in driving, for example, it's relatively easy to obtain a licence, and people, as you know, have very different attitudes. Some would be you'd feel very safe with, other ones you wouldn't get into, and so on. But when you come to flying, you find those who pursue a licence, or a certificate as it's called sometimes. It's the kind of person that you want to have flying. They have the right attitude, they have the right aptitude, they're determined to put in the time and money and effort to pass the necessary tests, both flying and theory. And so it becomes an activity that is fantastic. It's fun. It gives you a unique perspective. It's a very privileged thing to do. And in Australia and in the US, we have countries that have many freedoms, and we've got large areas to explore in. And so I feel very safe and happy doing so, and realise that while it's a relatively new thing for me to have gained it, I have full appreciation of the risks, and therefore that means that you take extra vigilance to make sure that you're up to speed with what's required, both in attitude and with knowledge. And knowledge only comes with time and experience, and there's no shortcutting it, but the right attitude is the right thing to have in the first place.
Alex, both the Civil Aviation Safety Authority and the Australian Transport Safety Board are based here in Canberra. We've reached out to them, and at this point no comment available for them. As a civilian pilot, I guess all of us want to know what was the possible causes of this accident. Are you disappointed that it could take up to 12 months for us to know the answers?
No, I'm not disappointed. I would much rather a thorough investigation happen. There are, naturally enough, you would speculate as to what could happen, and you see on the news a whole bunch of people giving their reasons why they think. I think that's very premature to discuss that, and you find that you would probably boil it down to three main areas of probable cause. It may not even be as simple as one cause. It's many times in aviation there are multiple causes that line up, but you'd be looking at areas such as, for any crash, not just Peter's tragic accident, pilot judgment, for example, under the conditions, and there are millions of permutations of conditions of everything that goes involved in flying. Mechanical failure, which could have taken things out of his hands, and there may have been a medical event at a critical point in landing, or any which one of those, which are three very different reasons, could give rise to what you saw. And naturally, you would make some private speculations and possibilities, but none of us know. You can only go by the facts. You must go by the facts before you can say any more than, these are general possibilities.
Yes.
That's all that you can say at this stage, and those facts take time. You must examine the plane mechanically. You must look at the maintenance. You must look at pilot records. You must look at all of these sorts of things, and at least it was an event where it was witnessed and recorded from many different points of view, even if there was no maybe a black box instrumentation on the plane.
Yes.
There's a lot of material to go by. That will have to be sifted through, because witness statements aren't always 100% either, but at least there's material, and that will take time, and I would rather them take the time and so that we come up with the answers, because as you fly, anytime anything happens, you want to understand why, so that you take that on board as you progress through your flying as well.
Yeah, just finally, Alex, the Air Transport Safety Bureau in CASA, of course, your photographs may be, in fact, the last photographs taken on board the aircraft. Are you making those photographs available to them if requested?
Oh, of course, not a problem. I have a 360-degree photo of the cockpit so that you can actually pan it round, up, down, left and right, and see what's there and how it was stowed and stored and
Yes.
conditioned and everything else.
I want to thank you so much for your time this morning. I know how sad you feel about the loss of these lives, and the passion you have for the Grumman American Aviation Corp aircraft. Thank you so much, and we bid you good morning.
Thank you very much, Tim, for your interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex McNord is a pilot, and he was on board the ill-fated aircraft only 3 weeks ago, just over 3 weeks ago, when Mr. Lynch was there, a passionate supporter of civilian aviation in Australia, his life taken with this tragic accident on Australia Day.